And namaste, everybody. Bruce here from rootsoflife.org. In this video, I'm going to share with you my experience and my use of marijuana as a meditation enhancer. And just to be clear up front, this is solely a video that's going to talk on the topic of marijuana and meditation together. It's not to condone the use of marijuana, or it's not to advertise or to suggest the use of the drug. It's simply to have a conversation around how the two practices can merge and the consequences and benefits of utilizing marijuana with your meditation practice. So I'm making this video because there's quite often a discussion about marijuana as a meditation enhancer. And there seems to be two pretty strong camps in this kind of discussion. One camp is saying that, this is absolutely detrimental to your meditation. You need to find peace in the mind without any substance and so on, which I think there's a lot of merit to, absolutely. And then there's another camp that will discuss meditation and marijuana as being very symbiotic. So I'm going to give my experience with my practice, my meditation practice, and how I kind of fit into both of those camps. I hope this video is beneficial to you, and I hope this video helps to maybe clarify or answer some questions in your own practice, especially if you are considering using marijuana for meditation or if you already are. Right, so let's jump into it. My practice with marijuana and meditation has been the summation of my total relationship with weed, actually. Prior to joining the two, I had never taken any marijuana, I'd never smoked it, never eaten it, anything like that. I had never done any drugs or anything. And that's just my journey. It's no criticism either way, right? It's just where I was. And I would say that it's been now about 4 years where I've been combining the two. Now, why did I start doing this? I started doing this because in my sober meditation practice, there was an understanding or a feeling or an impetus to a calling, I guess you could say, to start to incorporate the two, right? So it was almost as if I was being led to the plant. And I think this is speaking to one of the beauties of plant medicine, be that with any type of psychedelics like marijuana or mushrooms or LSD or ayahuasca, or whatever it might be. If there's an answer, a direct answer to the question of should I do this? Should I incorporate, this substance into my meditation practice? I would urge you to follow kind of that similar path. If you need it, in many ways you'll be called to it. And I know that many of you listening are probably very familiar with what I'm talking about here. It might come up in your meditation, you might be guided to it, somebody might be offering it to you just at the right time. That to me is really beautiful because there's an intelligence to the plants and there's an intelligence to the process and the learning and the journey that you can take with these plants, right? So first and foremost, if you're being called to it, I think the door is being opened for you. My personal perspective, this is just my personal perspective, is that all of these are tools to help deepen our meditation practice and in actual fact to help deepen our healing journey, right? So I view these as very sacred substances. They're not recreational for me in any way. And I also treat the journey and the experience with these plants with as much humility, respect and reverence, and indeed fear and nervousness in many ways as I can. And I don't mean fear and nervousness from a negative perspective. I mean it from a humble perspective. I'm here to learn, and I'm not going to learn with my mouth open. I'm not going to learn from the plant if I'm telling the plant what I want or the direction I want to go. It has to be a surrendering to the journey. So you have to let go and release into the entire relationship with the plant, whichever one you might be looking at here. Now, going back to the two different camps, right? I'll speak to my advocacy for the use of marijuana with meditation. For me anyways, on my journey, it has been a tool that has greatly deepened and enhanced my meditation practice. It's almost as if when consuming it, it shuts down the mind. It shuts down the ego and the filters. It removes a lot of the filters that would be potentially clogging up my experience with a meditation, right? So what I mean that is the mind needs to be quiet to be able to go deeper and deeper into the, physical body, the spiritual body, the emotional body. The governor switch to all of that is in many ways the logical mind or the ego. And so if there's a substance that can help quiet that down, then that means we can go even a little bit further, right? Now, as I'm saying this, you can see I'm hesitating here because I'm aware that there is a potential here for ego and want and desire. Like, why is it that I would want to go any deeper into my meditation? Why is it that I would want to go, push the boundaries or, maybe go further than I've ever gone before or whatever? That's not, from my perspective, that's not my ego or my desire. It's rather a submission or a humbling to the teaching of the plant. So I feel called to do this. And just to be clear, it's not every meditation that I do is with any substance. Like there's plenty that I'm doing that are completely sober. But there's a teaching from the plant. And there's something to be learned from the plant. And so when we sit with it, and when we sit with it with consistency and with honesty, and with surrendering to the process, then we can be more fully aware of what we are meant to learn or how we're meant to heal and so on, right? And so let me just unpack that a little bit further and I'll explain, the tangible benefits to me on my journey with the plant, with marijuana. I think first and foremost, it's come from the release of anxiety and fear. And, quite a lot of people, I'm sure many of you listening will know what I mean here with, when we smoke, you might get a panic attack, you might get super anxious, you might get nervous and whatever. You might start to hyperventilate, you might feel your heart beating pretty intensely, right? This is all the energy of anahata, the heart center, the heart chakra. So if you know about the heart chakra, then this will be kind of a review for you. But if you don't know about it, what I mean here is the heart and the lungs, the area in the center of the chest. And from a Chinese medicine and an Eastern perspective, the lungs hold the emotion of anxiety. And so this is a really interesting connection, right? If you're an anxious person, if you have some trauma that you're dealing with, like for me, I was working on releasing built up health anxiety and stress from my previous job. And the emotions or the energy of those experiences in many ways are held in the lungs. And so this is why, for instance, if this sounds a little bit abstract to you, this is why when we are, really anxious or we are really nervous, we start to hyperventilate. When we're having a panic attack, for instance, if any of you have experienced one, you know that your breathing becomes really shallow. Your heartbeat starts to really pound away and you can feel that tightness in your chest. It's because there's a accumulation of energy in the chest that's trying to be released. Now, I appreciate that this is more metaphysical than, scientifically proven, but if we look at the emotion of anxiety, you're going to feel that in very specific places. And, weed is definitely a trigger for panic and anxiety, okay? And so for me, wanting to work on, anxiety issues, health-related stress issues, and all of these things, the plant helped bring me there, and it helped take me into a space that was just a little bit deeper than I might have been able to go myself. And so when I would access these points in a meditation, in my practice, I might have felt like, my heart was beating too fast. I was getting super nervous. Maybe I was feeling like my blood pressure was rising and sweating, maybe deep and shallow breathing, maybe all of these types of disbalances. Now, obviously, all of those are side effects of marijuana. However, they're exemplified, or not exemplified, but they are exasperated by somebody who is potentially suffering from anxiety issues and stress issues like I am. And so the plant was a trigger in many ways for me to be able to go into that space and to face that emotion of anxiety or fear or stress and sit with it. And it allowed a space for me to open up just a little bit deeper. Practice by practice, maybe I would just go 1 second deeper into that space, sit with it and be with it. And that is the healing process. That is the release of the things that we're holding on to. And like I was saying previously, one of the governor switches of this healing is the mind, right? So the ego and the logical mind want to keep us safe. They're afraid of the unknown. And so anytime that we are working to address that which is unknown or that which is buried inside of us, there's going to be a block from the ego or from the rational mind, because it's an assumption that you're going to open up too much and release too much. It'll become too cathartic, perhaps. Personally, I'm not under the assumption or the belief that it can ever be too much if we're doing things with respect and honesty. Because our physical body, our emotional body, our energetic body, our mind are far too intelligent to open the doors too quickly, right? Now, I really, really want to stress the approach and the respect to the plant, right? Everybody who's listening to this video, you're on your own journey. You know better than anybody else where you are, how your mental state is, what you're holding on to. And you have to be honest. If you're not being honest with yourself and you're just diving into it, full steam ahead, jumping right into the deep end, you'll probably get overwhelmed because you're not respecting yourself and you're not respecting the plant. If you're consuming plants like this, and it's nothing against recreational consumption, but my concern for recreational consumption is always this: what happens if, while being used recreationally, something healing comes out, something cathartic that you're not expecting comes out? Now, thankfully, that usually doesn't happen because we're setting our intentions. But what if it does, right? This is a very precarious place to be in if you're not ready for it, if you're not ready for the experience to come forward. And so if you are prepared for that and you are ready for it, maybe you have a deep meditation practice already, a mindfulness practice, a yoga practice, maybe a Reiki practice, anything that is allowing you to already cultivate a relationship with yourself, with your body, with your mind, and cultivating not just a relationship, but a relationship of stillness of the body and the mind. Then perhaps it's an appropriate add-on to your meditation practice to investigate the effects of marijuana on your particular practice. It's going to be different for everybody, by the way. My experience is not going to be the same as anybody else's, just like yours won't be. So we have to constantly remember to stay honest and to stay humble to the plant. If you're sitting down to meditation and you're working with the plant, then you have to submit and let go to the plant. You have to surrender to the honesty and to the love of the plant and understand that it is going to guide you and walk with you through what could be a potentially difficult journey, right? So, when you're using this, at least for me, what I really try to utilize the plant when I'm working on my own meditation practice is in the evening, in the dark, in silence. Sometimes definitely I'll do some chanting, or maybe I'll do listen to some music or something like that, but music usually without words. This is just for me. It's not, this is not guidance. I'm just saying what works for me. music without words, or a space that is going to help me get deeper into that meditative journey. And there, when I'm sitting in darkness, in silence, in isolation with the plant, it's just me and myself. And what I mean by that is there's the facade of me, the ego-driven side of me, and then there's the reality, the deeper, the subconscious self, the internal self. And the barrier between those two dissolves a little bit deeper when I'm incorporating plants into my meditation. Now, with the dissolution of that barrier between the two, when I start to go into the stillness of the body and the mind and feel into the movement of energy through the body, the emotional release, right, the traumatic release of pain, muscular tension, all the other things that are coming up, there's definitely turbulence in that experience. It's not an easy, straightforward experience. And over time, month after month, year after year, it starts to get easier. And you start to release more and more, and you start to find deeper stillness within the turbulence. And to me, that's the beauty of incorporating the plants into your meditation practice, because it brings you into the storm potentially, but the storm is just the things that you're holding inside, right? It's the trauma, it's the belief, it's the negative emotions, the memories, the resistances that we all hold on to. And if we're brought into that space and we're led there with the understanding that, this plant is not going to let you down, it's just going to show you what you need to see. And it's going to provide you an opportunity to sit and learn and release what you need to see and learn and release, right? If you can approach the experience of meditation with marijuana from a similar perspective, then I think it becomes deeply healing, and it can be a deeply moving experience, because we are journeying inside and we are letting the facade of the story that makes up me, we're letting that temporarily go to the side, right? Now, again, that's not necessarily an easy journey, but nonetheless, it's a journey that helps us if we can sit with stillness in the storm. Well, then the storm starts to lose its meaning, right? And that's the beauty of this, in my opinion. It's like, if I can sit in the anxiety, if I can sit right in the face of that anxiety with stillness and with peace, well then, how can anxiety have any hold on me anymore, right? And I can say from my own journey, I wouldn't say definitively that, incorporating marijuana into my meditation practice has healed my health anxiety solely. But I would say that if I looked at a timeline when I started to incorporate marijuana to now into my meditation practice, there's a very strong correlation between that time frame and a stark and very noticeable and very deep reduction, if not almost complete release, of anxiety, stress, and health anxiety and health worries. So, and I know that road has been bumpy. I know it's been a very difficult path at some points. So, if you're on a similar journey, maybe that process that I've been on and that road that I've taken is going to be beneficial to you. And maybe you can find some comfort in that when things seem to be maybe a little bit too far, maybe you've gone a little bit too deep, maybe you smoked a little bit too much or whatever. If you can, sit with it. Remember that marijuana has never killed anybody. I mean, at least it's a kind of a catchphrase that's thrown around. I've never seen any evidence to suggest that marijuana has been linked to any deaths ever. And if you're in good health, if you have, a stable body and you're not looking at a stable mind as well, for sure, you don't have high blood pressure issues and so on, then you should be able to approach this experience with a little bit less fear and a little bit more trust that you're going to be safe. Okay. Now, of course, again, I'm not condoning the use. This is everybody listening to this is on their own journey. You have to assess your own mental health and your own physical health to know if this is an appropriate fit for you. I'm not telling everybody to do that. I'm not suggesting you do that. But you're watching this video, so I'm assuming that you are, interested at least in incorporating marijuana into your meditation practice. So I hope that little intro onto my journey is helpful, and I hope that helps to kind of clarify what I do. Now, the idea on frequency with weed and with meditation and the amount that you would consume, the only thing I can suggest is that you listen to yourself, because everybody is different. The famous Terence McKenna's advice, I'm sure most of you know who I'm talking about here, famously suggested that you smoke once a week, you smoke as much as you can, and you stay in a dark and silent space. Maybe that resonates with you. Maybe you smoke every day and you smoke a little bit less. Whatever you wish. It's always up to you. You just want to smoke enough that you are obviously going to be in that space so that you can be with the plant, right? Now, before I talk about how to get into that journey, I just want to address the other camp, the camp that would be saying that this is, detrimental to meditation, to mindfulness, and so on. There's two aspects of this argument in this position that I fall into here, or that I wonder about. The first aspect is that I agree with this. Any type of meditation practice or mindfulness or journey inward at some point should be completely substance-free. You shouldn't have to have anything except the self. But what if you are too busy in the mind or in the body to actually be able to access that space? What if meditation, and I'm sure, again, many of you listening will fit into this camp, what if it just seems too inaccessible for you? You just can't quiet the mind. It's just too difficult. It seems impossible. Well, marijuana might help you bridge that gap, right? Now, the other side of this discussion and this is the bit that kind of gets me, is the people who are saying that, I'm not going to mention any names or anything like this, but the people who are saying things like, meditation is best sober, or that marijuana, will decrease your ability to access deeper realms, or will increase negative karma, or all these types of things. The follow-up question that I always think in my mind, or that I would ask, is this. Is the person who's telling you not to do this, is that exact same person also offering to guide you into a meditation or holistic journey? Are they a guru who's telling you no to the plant, yes to everything they say? That to me is a huge red flag, and that would make sense. This is, a very similar argument as to why, maybe religions have outlawed or have really shunned the use of these drugs or these psychedelic plants, because with them, with the plants, you might not really need the institution or the leader or the guru, because it might be your guide, right? So there's a strong potential to acquiesce power from the guru to the plant. And so that's the first thing that I would ask. Now I'm immediately thinking about a Buddhist discussion here, which is that these journeys should be done sober. They should be done in the mind, with a quiet mind and a quiet body. The caveat to this discussion, at least within the Buddhist discussions that I've heard, is that nobody's trying to sell me on a journey. They're not saying, don't use the plant and now follow exactly what I say and I will get you there, right? It's just saying the plant can be a crutch. It can be something that we become too reliant on, and we become dependent on it. So instead of becoming dependent on that, cultivate stillness inside. It's not, instead of being dependent on the plant, follow exactly what I say, enter into my religious practice or my yoga ashram or whatever, and follow what I say in my practice. There's a big difference in that regard. And so that's one of the things that I'm always kind of looking out for when it comes to people's judgments on marijuana and so on. And at the end of the day, nobody has the right to judge what you are doing because it's your journey. So nobody can tell you yes or no. You know, you're the master of your domain and you're the one that's walking on your path. If it's a good fit for you, then it's a good fit for you. Plain and simple. That still does, though, require you to hold the plant with respect. Just like everything else in life, you can abuse it, you can treat it with disrespect, you can overuse it, and you can take the focus away from potentially healing and meditation and into escape. And that is a definite gray area and a definite boundary that I would urge all of you to not cross over, right? It's not a crutch, it's not an escape, it's a tool to help you go inside, in my opinion, okay? Now, speaking of my practice and what I do, and maybe this can serve as a way to help you to incorporate marijuana into your own practice. I solely use vaporizer. I'll make a new video here showing my setup in a bit when I get around to it. But I'm only using a vaporizer because it's just so much better on your lungs and it's so much easier to use. It's so much more economical. You know, you can really make your flower extend quite a long time. I mean, many uses as opposed to just combustion. You only have one use. Just my personal practice, right? And so with the vaporizer, you know, I'll sit down and get my space ready. I'll get my meditation cushions ready, get my room nice and tidy and cleaned up, because a clean room and a clean space help to be a reflection of the internal environment as well, right? So once all that's sorted, then I will get the vaporizer ready. I'll, you know, repack it if I need to. And I will hold respect and ceremony for the plant. And so if I am using, like I have a volcano vaporizer, so if I'm using the balloon or the whip, I would maybe fill the balloon up, for example. I'll just use the balloon here for the sake of discussion. So I would fill the balloon up and I will have it ready to go and I'll hold it in my hands and I will speak to the balloon. Now, you know, I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you're not going to find that to be ridiculous because you're already doing meditation. There's a purpose to doing this because you are speaking to the energy of the plant. And this is not insane. It's not, you know, crazy metaphysical stuff or whatever. You're speaking to the intention of the session and you're speaking about your respect for the plant, okay? So I'd hold the balloon, close my eyes, and I might say something like this. In this experience tonight, I surrender myself fully to the plant. I open my heart with all the love, gratitude, and kindness that I can give to this plant for its guidance. May this plant guide me into whatever I need to learn, whatever I need to understand, and whatever I'm ready to let go of. And may I greet this experience without fear, without hesitation, and without anxiety, because I know I'm fine, I know I'm safe, and I know I'm being led by the energy of this plant and the energy of the universe. And so to this divine plant, to the divine feminine energy of the plant, I say thank you, I love you, and I'm ready for your teachings and for your guidance. And then I might bring the bag to my forehead and to my heart, and then I would consume, and then I will come and sit in posture, my meditation posture, you know, just cross-legged, whatever works for you. You can lie down as well, and I'll just let the experience unfold, trying to keep my mind quiet, trying to keep the distractions at a minimum or at zero, and allowing the entire experience to move forward. And when I notice that my mind is becoming busy with thoughts or with distractions or whatever, I come back to the breath, just like in a normal meditation, or come back into the body and try to keep the awareness inside, right? And so with that respect and with giving thanks and reverence and love to the plant before the journey, in many ways, you're breaking down the wall of fear or the wall of potential anxiety because you're creating a bond to the plant. You're paying the respect forward so that the plant will guide you in its experience, right? And for me, that journey has been profoundly healing. It's been psychedelic at times. There's definitely communication with myself, with things outside of my body, with memories, with beliefs. There's definitely releases of anxiety. There's tension. There's moments where it feels like I'm going to die, that things that really are pushing the envelope a little bit. I don't mean any of that to sound grandiose. What I'm saying is, if you can meet all of these experiences with surrendering, because you know you're going to be okay, you know you're safe, then you can maybe find a deeper level of release and truth within your body and your mind. And so for me, it's been a profoundly healing journey. It's been a profoundly impactful journey. And I hope for all of you as well, if you incorporate the use of marijuana into your meditation practice, I hope you can begin to see and experience the symbiotic relationship between these two practices. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And until next time, namaste and in Gassho to all. Be well.